Okay, so which is used to check, which is used to check whether, okay, to check whether cursor, cursor variable, cursor variable is contained, cursor variable is contains data or not, data or not. So your cursor variable memory, cursor variable, okay, so whatever you're declaring cursor variable, in that cursor variable memory, data is there or not. So that thing and the status will be checking here. Okay, suppose if data is there, if data is there, if data is there means then it return, then it return, then it returns value is 0, then the return value is 0. Okay, otherwise it returns, it return -1. So -1 is represented, data is not there in your cursor memory, and 0 is represented, data is there in your cursor memory. So this is what now guys here, the fetching status, the fetch underscore status variable we are going to be using for to check whether in your cursor memory, so the data is there or not there. Okay na, right? Now come out here. So this is complete information about your cursor, and let you see to take some examples here. Okay, write a cursor program, okay, to fetch, to fetch all, okay, to fetch all employee, to fetch all employee names and their names and their salaries, their salaries from EMP table. So now let you see, to fetch all employee names and their salaries from EMP table. Okay, so now see, here the two things I can show it guys here. First of all, when you come to your syntax of a fetching statement, here into variable, I said it's optional. That means with the variable, we can go to fetching your data. Without variable also, we are going to be fetching the data. Okay, so this kind of with variable and without variable, the two cases it will be supporting to us. So first I will show you with variable, later I will show you without variables. The both examples I will show it now. Okay, because variables are optional part, so either you can use or not, that is not problem and nothing problem. Okay now, but how it was going to be writing the programs with variable and without variable, let me see. Come to your database. So now in this my database, we have one table EMP. If you see this EMP table is having here, okay, the total employee, 15 employees information we have it now. Okay, right. So now let you come back and to write a program. So first step here, the five steps we already said to you, the 5 steps. So whenever you want to go for two, okay, so explicit cursors, first we have to declare cursor variable along with the select query, later open, fetch, close, and deallocate. So let you come out guys here. First I need to declare. So cursor name C1, cursor for, and now I need to give some selector here. Star means we all of you know all columns are we are taken out. So now here I don't want it all columns. I want it specific columns data ename comma salary from EMP table. Okay now. So this is my first step guys here. And later on what we want to do here in select statement, this is important for you. This is very important for you. So in select statement, how many number of columns are you selected? So here, how many columns are you selected guys here? E-name and the salary. So two columns are we selected in select query, right? Now, so how many columns are you selected in your select query? That many variables. Suppose if you are using variables, so how many variables I want to declare? Okay, it means that I can declare, okay, or else a number of variable declaration will be depends on your select query. So in your select query, how many number of columns are you selected? If you selected star, star means all columns, then all columns wise variables declared. Suppose are you selected two columns, then two columns wise your variables are declared. So here how many columns I selected here? Two columns, so that I'm going to declaring here two variables. One is e-name purpose, one variable. Okay. Second one is called as salary purpose, one variable. Okay, na? Right. So number of selected columns in select query and number of variables. So both are same. After that, what we want to do, the second step is I need to open C1. So whenever you want to open C1, the cursor connectivity open, then only the select command is internally executed. The select query is internally executed. Okay, na? Right. Executed. And which columns here? E-name column and salary column. This two columns data retrieving from EMP table. EMP table where it is in your database memory. In your database memory. So retrieving this two columns data from EMP table. Later, this two columns data I'm storing under which memory? C1 memory. Storing under C1 memory. That means now in your cursor variable memory, so cursor variable memory C1, in this, how many columns data we have it? Means there are two columns data we have it. One is e-name and salary. Okay, na? So two columns, all employees data. That means 15 employees names, 15 employees salaries. This both are having in the C1 memory. Okay, na? Right. So after having that data storing here, then I need to fetch now. I need to fetch now. So fetching purpose, which statement fetch? How to fetch means next by next. For example, I'm using next method. So that means I want to fetching from which directionally? Forward directionally. Forward directional means in your table. So your fetching starts from first row. Okay, first row fetching. After that's next row. After that next row. After that next row. After that next row, like this. So one by one, next by next in forward directionally fetching when I'm using next method. Okay, so next from which memory? C1. And what are the first employee name? First row, first employee Smith and 8,000. So these two columns data I'm storing under the related variables. The related variables at the rate ename comma at the rate sal. So this is called as a, just giving here, loop starts from first row in your table. Okay, now? So first row. But here in my table, not only one row now, in my table, there are 15 rows are there. So these 15 rows, that means 15 rows employee names, 15 rows employee salaries I want to fetch. So how to fetching 15 rows information means, here we are using one looping statement, and we already said only one loop started or supported in this TSQL, that is while loop. So while, and a condition I'm writing. So while condition fetch status is equals to 0. So I already just now I said fetch status is a global variable or variable. So this is going to be telling us, in your cursor variable memory, data is there or not there. So that will be checking. And now that is equals to 0. 0 means what I said just now. 0 means what I said just now. Yeah. So fetch underscore status checking data is there or not there. If data is there, then returning 0. Otherwise minus 1. Okay, now right. I was given 0. 0 means data is there. After that, your while loop is begin. Okay, after begin, now you have to print your statement. So which value I want to print? These columns, these variables values I want to print. So print what you want to say, the employee, otherwise the employee names and salaries or so now I'm using concatenating at the rate ename, concatenating comma, concatenating cast off at the rate salary as varchar. Okay, now so like this while loop is looping one by one. Okay, this is starting loop statement, and condition is checking whether data is there or not there. Data is there, immediately the data is printed. So now like this, what it was going to do, 15 rows I want to print. That means I want to give a increment statement. So that's why I'm using one more fetch. Fetch next from C1 into at the rate ename comma at the rate salary. This is called as, the statement is called as a loop continuous purpose. Continue up to last row in your table. Last row in table. Continuous. So one by one loop will be fetching one by one row, continuous manner, and coming checking condition, printing, checking condition, printing. Like this, it will be looping. So after looping this one, finally, what you want to say, then end my while loop statement. So while condition begin, print, increment statement, and end begin statement. Loop is ended. After that, close C1 connectivity and deallocate your C1 memory. So this is one small program, guys, here in your cursor. Let you see to execute it now. So what it was happening, you can see this. So I executed now. Then total, how many employees? The total 15 employees. The 15 employees names and their salaries. Like first employee Smith, 8,000. Ellen, Word, okay, like this. Each and every employee up to the last employee, Warner. So the total 15 employees information we are going to display. Okay, now. So this is what now, when I'm using variables in this program, so like this. Okay, but here, how this program is executed, the logic is, the main is logic here. The logic, how it is executed, I will explain to you. Okay, don't worry, observe now. So this is, so one time, okay, one program I'm explaining here, remaining all programs are same to same. Okay, now. So one logic is, that means one programming execution process I will show you now. and every cursor program is same pattern executed. Okay, so one time explanation I'm giving now, and reminding all programs are same to same. Okay, right. So let you come out, guys. So each and every line I will explain to you, so carefully identify. Okay, this is your program, this is your program, carefully observe. Okay, now this is your program, right? So now the program, line by line, I will explain to you guys. Carefully observe. Now, what we said in the first step, declaration of cursor variable along with the select query. So in this case, what it was happening in the first line. So we know in your, this is SQL server. So we have a database. This is your database. So in this database, so we have a table. Okay, we have a table. So in the first statement, carefully observe. So line by line, I will explain to you. First statement. Okay. First statement, what happened? On the name of C1, on the name of C1, it was on the name of C1 variable, some memory is allocated. Okay, now this memory name is C1, right? Now, after that, see, select command is not executed immediately. Okay, still it was having here. Next, the next statement is declared variables. So two variables I'm going to declaring here. The two variables I'm going to declaring here. Okay. So one variable at the rate ename. So this at the rate ename purpose having some memory. Next at the rate salary. This is what. These two variables, whenever you declare, here some memories are allocating for these variables. And you're also allocating some memory for these variables. Right. Second statement is over. Next, come to third statement. I want open. When I open this, carefully observe, your cursor connection is, that means memory connectivity is open. So whenever open, what I said, immediately, your select query is executed now. Immediately, your select query, whatever you query written, this query executed. This query is executed, and in this query, which columns data are you asking, are you retrieving from the table? So those two columns only. That means your table is having 100 columns. But whatever the columns you mentioned in the select statement, those two columns data only retrieving from database to, this is table, database to your cursor memory location. Cursor memory location. Right? Now, complete. That means how many columns here it will come out here? Only two columns. Only the two columns data coming out. Only two columns. Only two columns data is coming out. Right? So two columns. Which column I'm taking here? So we are writing here name column. So in a small I'm writing name column and salary column. So name column and salary column total, how many names are there? How many employee names are there means total 15 employees, right? So now we are passing 15 employees data also coming out. So I'm just giving lines to understanding 15 employees data. Okay, like this. 15 employees data will come to you. Okay, now understanding now, right? So that employee name and salaries we taken. Okay, now. So complete once open your C1, query is executed, data loading into cursor. After that, what the next statement here? Fetching. Okay, the user started to fetch your data. So what we said in this fetch statement, your fetching, that means data fetching started from first row. So I just go to my first row. The data started to fetching started from first row. First row employee name and first row employee salary. So fetching from C1, can you see fetching from C1, right? And storing into variables. Storing into variables. So first data fetching, storing into variables. So first employee, okay, name and salary. Okay, name and salary. So fetching and storing into variables. So who is my first employee in this table? Who is my first employee in this select ename in this? Who is the first employee here? Who is the first employee means the first employee name is Ellen and Smith. Smith and 8,000. So that first employee name Smith and 8,000 fetching from cursor memory, storing under variable memory. Smith and 800. Okay, now right. After storing the data or values into name and salary, now next statement is what now? I need to check my cursor data is there or not. So the while condition is checking now. So while condition is checking now. Yes, here 0 was given. So data successfully there in the cursor or in the cursor variables also data successfully having. So cursor variable data is there means your condition is data is there means condition is true. So condition is true. When condition is true, then enter into begin and later printing. So print what it was printing at the rate name and salary. So at the rate name what it was there Smith and salary what it was there some 800. So now in the first one in the first row okay. So now I will take here okay. Now Smith okay 8,000. So first row is printing on the screen. So first row is printing on the screen. Let you see. Let you see. First row is printing on the screen. Now I'm going to execute it here. So first row is printing. Smith 8,000 is printed. Right? Smith 8,000 is printed. Okay, now right. After printing the first row, then what it was going to happen means immediately first row is printed. Then it will go to the next loop will be fetching. That is starting your loop. So that means again it will go to fetching next record because I'm using next. So next record I'm started here. So what is the next record here? This one. The next record it will go. The next record it will go. Next record means second row. The second row is going. So your very important thing is what now? Once your name and salary is successfully printing on the screen, these variable memories are empty. That means automatically, so empty. It will be refreshing your memory. Okay, now. So because already first row fetching, storing, and that was displaying on the screen. So again, second row, when it was going to second row to fetch the data, at the time, these variables are refreshing their memories. Okay, now? Now, fetching second row. Second row data fetching from C1. Second row data fetching from C1. Carefully observe. Second row is fetching from the C1. Second row fetching from C1 and again storing into C variables here. So second row, this one now. So what is my second row? Employee name, Alan and 74,000. So here it will become to you in the variables. So now it was storing here Alan and the amount of salary 74,000. Okay. So after taking this, what next it was going to be happen after data fetching and storing. So then it will go to again while loop condition again. It will go to while loop. So it will go to while loop. Okay, loop is continuous. Okay, loop is continuing. So while loop is was going to take it. Again, while condition is checking, guys. Again, while condition is checking. Okay. So while condition fetch underscore status is equals to 0. 0 means what? Data is there. Data is there means what? Condition is true. Condition is true. Condition is true. Yes or no? True means again begin. Again print. So now second record is printed. Second record information is printed. Second record information is printed. What is your second record information? Alan and 74,000. Alan and 74,000. Right? Printed. So after printing means automatically this two, okay, again your memories, that means variable memories are refreshing here. Memories are refreshing. So after printing again same now, so same again increment here. So same again here. Same again. Again it was executing this statement. Next executed. Fetching data third row. Again condition checking. Okay. Fetching again condition is checking. Condition true. Again true means printed. Again fetching and condition is checking. So it was looping. It was looping up to 15 rows looped here. After 15 rows are displayed here, okay, after 15 rows displayed, next it was fetching, but the 16th row is not there. 16th row is not there means data is not there here. So data is not there means what happened? This will be coming to check here. Status is equals to 0. 0 means what? No, condition is false. Because when data is there, then only 0. If data is not 16th record is not there means there is no data into cursor variable memory. When there is no data means this condition is false. Then this condition is false means this is not executed now, not executed, and your while loop completely out of loop and end. After end, closing. So now this will be closed. Your data fetching is over. This will be closed. And after closing, deallocating. Deallocate means this memory destroyed. So understand all of you now? Understand all of you? Or any doubt? Understand all of you or any doubt? Are you clear? Tell me guys, are you clear? Right. So this execution, whatever I'm telling here, okay, whatever I'm telling here, this execution, okay, this execution we are going to be common for every cursor program. Okay, so once this execution, if you understand, then remaining all are same execution mechanisms. There is no difference. Maybe logic will be changed, but execution way is also always the same. Okay, na? So this is one example of your cursor, how it was fetching the data, okay, from your table. Okay, now the next one is observe here. The next one is very important note. As per the nature of cursor, it again classified into Okay, classified into four types. So first one we called as a forward only cursor. Next one is scroll cursors. Next one is static cursor. Next one is dynamic cursor. So as per the nature of cursor, again cursors will be classified into some types here. So in this, one is forward only cursors, scroll, static, and dynamic. Okay, na? Scroll, static, and dynamic. So these are what. So now let me see what is forward, what is scroll, what is static, and what is dynamic. But before that, come out here. Okay. In this program, so the program execution I said, suppose are you given in place of 0, suppose are you given -1. Suppose when I use -1 means what now? -1 is represented what now? Your data is not there in the cursor. Okay, now data is not there in the cursor. So now if I'm going to use -1 and to execute this entire program, then what it was happening, you can see it is no written value. So your program successfully executed without having any errors, but the result is not showing. Why, sir? Why the result is not showing? Why, sir? Why the result is not showing means the reason is what now? The reason is what now? Here I was given -1. So -1 is nothing but what we said, guys. Here -1 is nothing but data is not there in the cursor memory. Data is not there in the cursor memory. Okay, now so that's why no data written or no data displaying us. So no data written and no data displaying us. Okay, now right. So now if I'm giving 0, 0 means data is there, and execute now. Now you will get your data, whatever it was there in the cursor. Whatever it was there in the cursor, the data will be come back like this. Okay, now this is so. This is by using of variable declaration. Variables I used here. Suppose I said variables are not a mandatory. Without variables also we can do this example. So now how it is means. So just remove your variables wherever you declared. So this statement is not necessary. I remove this. And into variables I don't want to need. I just remove this. So printing statements is not necessary. Okay, this is also I need to remove this. Because when variables are there, then only print. Yes or no? Next one is into ename is also remove this. Like simple, the program, but we don't have it any variables here. So without variable, I'm writing the same program. Let you see to execute it here. Okay, let you see to execute it here. Then your data will display one by one manner. So every employee data single by single row. Can you see now? Because I said the data fetching row by row in forward directionally. So every row individually one by one fetching. Okay, one by one row fetching here, like every row individually one by one row fetching. Okay, now so now can you see one by one row fetching like this, all 15. And now we can see in the side of a row number 1 1 1 1 only. So that means for each fetching of a row or each fetching statement, whatever the fetching statement we are continuously using, every fetching statement or a fetching statement will always fetching single row only. Okay, now so in this case what happened here, directly your columns data directly taking from cursor table and printing on the screen. Because I'm not using any variables here, I'm going to taking directly my columns data from cursor memory and printing on the screen. So directly printing here. That's why your output is also showing in a tabular format. Can you see your output is also showing in a tabular format? Your output is also showing in a tabular format. But when you use variables, when we use variables, then your output is showing in a text format. When we use variables, because when we use variables, why it is a text format? Because data retrieving from the table, again storing under variable, and those variables are printed. That's why it is a text formatly printed. But here what happened? Directly data taking from table and displaying on the screen. That's why it is a table structural format display. Understand my point now? But whatever it was displayed, okay, either variable or without a variable, but output is same. That all information, the total 15 employees information one by one record is displayed here. Okay now? So right, this is only the difference guys here. So without variables, your output will be displaying in the table structural format. With variables, your output will be displaying in the plain text format. Okay now, other than this, there is no difference. Same execution process, same it all. Okay now? Right. So this is with variable, without variable. That's why variable is optional. That's why variable is an option. Okay now? Right. Now let me see. Now let me see. Okay. So what we said in the note point, as per the nature of cursor, it again classified into 4 types here. So forward, scroll, static, and default. What is here? One by one we will check out. Forward only cursors. Forward only cursors are called as these are default cursors in SQL Server, database. These are the default cursors. Okay now? In SQL Server database, it always fetch rows in forward direction or directionally, forward direction only. Okay now? So that means forward only cursors are default cursors. So the default nature of cursor, how it was fetching the data. By default cursor nature, that means cursor generally, cursors are how it was fetching the data means by default direction, forward direction. That is a default nature of cursors. The cursors always fetching in forward directional, and that is a default directional of cursor to fetching the data from memory. Okay now? So that's why forward only, in the name only there, forward only cursor. That means these cursors are fetching rows in forward directional only. And it supports only one fetching method. Only one fetching method. That is which method supported means next method only. Okay now, because we have so many methods, the 6 methods are there. I already said to you 6 methods are there. While you are fetching, we are using 6 methods. While you are fetching, we are using 6 methods. But in the 6 methods, every method is having some particular directionally data fetching. So here I was given definition. Next, fetching next row, next by next in forward directionally. Okay. And the last direction, first direction, prior, backward direction, absolute, exact positions, relative, increment or decrement. So, but here, forward only cursors retrieving data or fetching the data in forward directional only. So that's why it supported only one method, that is next only. So remaining whatever the 5 methods are there, like first, last, prior, absolute, and relative, these 5 methods I cannot use under forward only cursors. Okay, that's why can you see in my program, whatever the program I written, this is I'm using only forward, that means only next method only I'm using in this. Yes or no? I'm using only next method in this. I'm not using other methods. Okay. So because this is a forward only cursor example and supporting only default method next. Okay, that's the next I'm using. So now, but what it was happening guys here, in forward only cursors, We are fetching the data in forward, that's okay. But if you go for some exercise here, suppose some exercise I'm asking here, example, write a program to fetch rows, to fetch rows in, to fetch rows from last to, from last to first manner. Okay. Suppose this question I'm asking, when we go for forward only cursors, when I'm asking this, from last to first manner, I have to fetching my rows. So in this case, suppose loop started from first row I said, first fetch statement, but here my requirement is I want to fetch a row last to first. Last to first means what happened here? My loop starts from which method? Last method. That means here I'm comment is what now? Loop starts from, I'm using last now, so here last row. So, and we know the last one, the last method used for what purpose we said? Last, we are using for what we said, to fetch a last row from the cursor. Okay now? So that's why I'm using, my requirement is last to first. So that means my loop starts from last and it will be continue into first. That means how it was coming here. Suppose I have a 15 rows are there in my table. Last row is a 15. 15 after what? 14. 14 after what? 13. 13 after what? 12. 12 after what? 11. 11 after what? 10. 10 after what? 9. 9 after what? 8. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and finally 1. This is called a last to first. So last to first means what happened? Your loop starts from 15th row. Your loop starts from 15th row and loop continue in backward directionally. Loop continue in backward directionally. Yes or no? Loop continue backward directionally. Up to backward directionally. Up to backward directionally from the first row. Okay. So that means loop started here. Last row. This is starting. This is starting. Okay, and it's a continuous up to first row. So continuous, which directionally continues? Backward directionally. Backward directionally means which method I have to use? Which method I have to use backward? Prior. Which method I have to use? Prior, right? So now I'm using prior, where loop continue up to what I said, up to first row. So continue, that means which directionally? Backward. So I'm using what? Prior. I'm using what? Prior. So loop starts from last row, last to previous positions rows. That previous, that's called a prior. Prior means previous. Previous, that means backward. Like it will be up to first row. But when I'm going to using this two method, last and prior, and to execute this one, what it was happening, you can see, I'm getting error. I'm getting one error. What is the error? You can see the feature type last cannot be used with the forward only cursors. Point is understand. The fetch last method, whatever I used here, whatever I used here, whatever I used here, last you cannot use in forward only cursors. Because I said forward only cursors are supporting only one method, that is what now? Next method. And last, first, prior, absolute, or relative, these methods we cannot use into forward only. So to overcome this problem, that means not only forward directionally, you need to fetch your data in different directional and all the directions, like your forward direction, like a backward direction, like a first row, like a last row, like a increment, like a decrement, like exactly position row. So in any directionally do you want to fetch your rows from the cursor memory. So there the people are using scroll cursors. What is here? Scroll cursors, we want it here. So what scroll cursors is telling us, these cursors are used to fetch rows from cursor table in any direction, in any direction, in any direction, like forward direction, comma, backward direction, comma, first row, comma, last row, okay, comma, exact position, exact positions, comma, increment or decrement. So yes, understand now. So scroll cursor advantage is what now? By using of scroll cursors, you can fetch your rows data from any directionally, either forward directionally or backward directionally, or first or last, or increment, decrement, or exact. So all directionally we can go to fetch our data. That's why what I'm going to say, this cursor supporting this cursor, okay, supporting all six fetching all six fetching methods, or like it will support all six fetching methods, supported next method also, supported first method, supported last method, supported prior method, supported absolute end method, and supported relative end method. So total how many fetch statements are there? That all fetching statements is going to be supported by scroll cursors. Okay, now, so one example I will show you with all six methods, how to use it in one program, in one example I'm showing here. Then you can understand that, and then you can understand the differences between forward and scroll. So this is scroll definition. Okay, the purpose of scroll cursor we are using. Next one, we have a static cursor, and next one we have a dynamic cursors, and these cursors, how it is used, how it will be worked, that we will see. Okay, but scroll cursor examples, okay, I will show you this example in all directionally how it was working, so that we will see in the tomorrow session. So maximum tomorrow we will finishing our cursors topic. Okay, if it is we have a time, we will go to next new topic in our SQL language. Okay, right guys, all of you, right? Thank you guys, thank you so much.